Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2, a podcast about people who work together as a couple. Learn the secrets of business partnerships, the benefits and pitfalls of working together, be it husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, friends, relatives, or any other combinations of business partnerships. As well as other couples, we will also let you know of any useful apps or websites out there that we have discovered to help you with your business.
We're your hosts, Tracy and Ian Earle, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. We host online and face-to-face events and we'd love to meet you, so why not come along? The link to book is in the show notes. Today's guests are Kelly and James West of ONLE Networking, and they are fellow business networking hosts. So without further ado, let's crack on with In Business Talks 2. So welcome to our In Business Talks 2 today, and with us we have Kelly and James of ONLE Networking.
Hello.
Good to see you guys.
Hello, what are you doing?
Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming along.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Okay, so I suppose we should start by asking you, can you tell us a little about ONLE Networking and what you do?
Is that the nod to?
That was the nod to say over to you. Yeah.
To indicate me. Thank you.
That's right.
Have you got a little system going here?
Yeah. Got little nods and winks, and
You answer that one, yeah.
So we're James and Kelly, ONLE Networking. We are the business network for people that like people. That seems to be the strap line that suits us quite well. So we are now exclusively an online network. I say exclusively. If people want to meet, that's up to them. We ain't arranging it anymore because that was where we were as an in-person networking event pre-lockdown. We've now got 20, I think it is, Kelly, groups across the UK. And the real one that kind of grabs people's attention, being that we're predominantly UK based, is ONLE New York. That was the one we launched in February, because with the idea being, if you truly believe in the concept of online networking, i.e. you can build proper relationships and do business with people without meeting them in person, why don't we test that theory and see how far it can take us? And so far that is starting to work out. So we started in the south of England. We've now got groups in, well, we go up the country, sort of London, Manchester, Tyne and Wear. We also opened Scotland this year. And it's just great to see, I mean, we're 5 years in now, just to see those connections building, friendships. And we were talking before about the changing landscape of networking. It's a different world, isn't it?
Yes,
it is definitely. Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. Yeah,
it's actually nice to talk to somebody else who's in the same industry as we are and get your perspective on it. Really.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So, shall we start by asking them, how did you meet?
Well, true to our story, we met at networking. So, would you believe it? Get more than just a business referral on that event. So, we, back at Poddy, wasn't it? So we've been together 8 years. We've got this wrong. We thought it was 9 years. It's not. We then suddenly realised it was 8 years ago.
It felt like 9 years.
It felt like 9, yeah. The last couple have sort of all merged into one, haven't they? So, James was a member of Poddy. I couldn't join Poddy because it was a category restricted network, but I did used to go and sub for one of the travel counsellors, as I was back then, hence when I met James, and we arranged a one-to-one and we ended up getting married in New York, which also forms part of our story. So so that was how we met. And I think the reason the business came about from it is because of the reasons we were at that event. So I went there purely for business, whereas James went there more for the social element and for mindset, really, didn't you, James?
Community, connection. That's what I've learned in recent years. I wasn't mad, although some would disagree. But when you work for yourself, and you guys will know, even as a couple, but particularly when you're on your own, as I was back then, is that one of the basic tenets of being a happy human being is meaningful connection. So you can work for yourself, as I did. I was a freelance journalist. I ended up building websites and outsourced social media content writing. I was all right at earning money, but at a massive cost to my mental health. So I was depressed. I was unhappy. I ended up going to that networking event because I felt at home, because I was with people in the same boat as me. Because you guys will know what it's like when you've got friends that are employed. They think because you're self-employed, you're living the life of Riley. You don't have to go to work.
They
You
do.
finish when you what, don't they?
Yeah,
Totally different
So,
mindset.
but there is a massive flip side. Everything's on your shoulders. You've got no backup. You can't go on holiday because no one's going to keep the business running, etc. So connection and that was really, wasn't it, Kelly, the idea behind ONLE? Why don't we build the network that kind of meets in the middle? You've got your very formalized, and I'll say it, we owe a debt to BNI because they kind of invented the concept of networking. They do a lot very well. They teach people how to, the giver's gain strap line is a really good kind of idea for networking, but it is very formal. It is very rigid, category restrictions. We won't get into it because this isn't about networking. It does have its issues. Can we create a network that gives value and actually isn't just a glorified coffee morning, but it's more about relationships, friendships, and people feeling at home and supported? So that was really the idea behind that.
We agree. So we have a saying that the best business comes from the best relationships. And I myself was a BNI for many years in various groups. Over 17 or 18 years I've been networking, and most of it, to be fair, has been through BNI groups and other bits and pieces as well. But it is very structured and it doesn't suit everyone. It's very formal and it can be quite pressured. And I suppose that's to some degree why we just almost, a mirror image of we decided. We thought, well, what about the people out there who don't want to do BNI, who aren't comfortable with that, or that type of thing, and category restriction? Because collaboration is important, isn't it, as well? When you're working with people, it's about collaboration. It's not always about competing or being restricted. We've had people in our group, sort of web designers, who've worked together because one does one type of web design and one does the other for different size clients. So it does work, doesn't it? You don't have to lock out categories necessarily. Sorry, I'm going now.
We love it though, don't we? We're passionate about it. We could talk about that for hours, couldn't we?
Sorry about
a bit like us, really. We met at a networking
event. Differences. We met a networking. Hang on just a bit, I'll tell you this. We met a networking.
How long ago?
It must have been 14 years ago, was it? 15 years ago?
I don't know.
And it took us 7 years. It took us 7 years to notice me, guys. 7 years. 7 years to notice me. Yeah, how's that? Yeah. It was a slow burn, definitely, wasn't it?
That's all I got out of the Chamber of Trade was the husband. Didn't get much business, but anyway.
No, it was the local Chamber of Trade and Commerce, wasn't it?
It's quite a reductive statement as well, Tracy. All I got. I got everything I wanted.
Everything I wanted, James. Everything I wanted.
Yeah. We'll have to have a word about that statement after.
Can we edit that?
Yes. So okay. So whose idea was it then to go and do this together? Did one of you have the idea, or what happened? What made you decide, we can try something different? Did you both have the?
I think because we'd been in spin-off BNI groups before, it's always sort of there, isn't it? And I don't think there's a BNI chapter out there that doesn't have a member who thinks they can go and do it better. So we were always very mindful that if you're going to try, you're going to have to do this as a proper job, a full-time thing. You're going to have to put your all into it. And we spoke to Poddy, didn't we? We spoke to the leaders of the group and said, we'd like to expand this and make this a bigger thing. And they didn't really want to. So we thought, well, should we give it a go ourselves? Why don't we just give it a try?
This is a very unromantic version of this story.
No.
Why?
Can I tell what really happened?
It was a romantic version, James.
Go for it.
That was like the sort of manual version of it, wasn't it? Like the handbook version. So we'd had previous relationships, and we've met later in life. Our realization, why did we want to work together first and foremost, was that we'd wasted too much time not being together. So it was never a question of, shall we set up a business together? Is what will we do in business together? And we started off because I was working with a guy building websites. Kelly took that role over, so we started building Squarespace websites. But we kept circling back to networking because we built about 200 websites in 3 years, something like that, Kelly. And you can get a level of satisfaction about building people's websites because we debunked a lot of the myths about websites because people are told complete nonsense by, tech guys speaking jargon saying, well, you've got to pay for a maintenance package when you don't because they've just hit the auto renew button. There's all that kind of, jargon type stuff going on. So we got a level of satisfaction out of debunking websites, teaching people how to edit them themselves, giving them control of website. But we never got that excited by it. Whereas every time we came back to networking and the concept of, hang on, this is actually life-changing for people, because the bit that you go for initially is to win business opportunities. Well, that can change lives because that's how you build a business.
Yeah.
But also the friendships, the connection, the support, I'll say it, the love that happens within a good networking community is far more powerful. And we learned this, kind of proved this through lockdown, because a lot of people said to us, you kept us going. There's nothing more important than that. So going back to why and why networking, website building gave us satisfaction. Networking and the potential of what it could do for people gave us goosebumps.
Yeah.
And that's why we pursued that. That was a much better answer than you gave, Kelly.
Yeah, I know my place.
This could be our best podcast ever if we're not careful.
We'll have a full-on row in a minute, don't worry.
Well, the next question is, do you agree on everything?
I think we've proven that already, haven't we?
No.
Yeah, I think we'll just skip over that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important question, to be honest. I think James is really good at going into work mode. So James does, like, I can tell when he's got work face on. I'm not. I'm the same all day, every day. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. So I know when to probably not push things or not be too silly, etc., because he's in the flow. I would say we disagree quite a lot, I would say, but I think that's really healthy.
Yeah.
Because it challenges whether the decisions are right or wrong. I'm quite headstrong. I'm the bullet at gate, got an idea, I'm doing it, or I'll start it and then you'll finish it, James, because I'm not a finisher. And then James will quite rightly say, okay, you've come up with the idea, it's taken me 2 minutes, it'll take me 2 weeks to implement this. Is this really a good idea? Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes disagreeing is a good thing.
Of course it is, yeah.
Especially when you're different characters.
I don't think we ever massively disagree fundamentally about future direction of the business or kind of creative ideas, things to implement. It's more to do with timing. And like for me, it's very much about not releasing things until they're ready. So Kelly is, what's next? Put it this way, I couldn't exist. This business wouldn't be anywhere near it is, or I don't even think it exists without Kelly's drive, energy, enthusiasm, because I'm naturally quite cynical. So I'll look at the, hang on.
We've got this on recording, by the way.
I'm all right with that. That will trip us up, and I'm always looking for what can go wrong, and that will ultimately crash and burn any plans that we've got, whereas Kelly keeps me driving. But then, like Kelly's saying, I'll be the one that comes along and says, all right, we will do that, but I'm gonna kind of hold you at bay. Let's get that bit done, draw a line under it before we move on to the next thing. And that seems to have worked, Kelly, doesn't it? What about you two anyway? I want to know about your dynamic and working together.
I think I'm more like you, James, and you're more
I'm the blue sky thinker. I'm you, Kelly. I'm the blue sky thinker.
Shiny object. Yeah. Shall we be doing this? Shall we be doing that? I'm like, oh no, just hang on, and I just have to rein him in a bit sometimes.
The problem I have is I've had some great ideas, but half an hour later I forget about them.
It's always the best ones you forget.
I should really write them down, but they're gone.
It does work though, doesn't it? We talk. We've got a few couples in business that are members, haven't we? And they'll come along, or one will go to one group, one to another, etc. And it's way more popular nowadays than even in the last couple of years. I don't know, maybe pandemic helped with that, with couples working together. But certainly for us, as James said, it was more because we just didn't want to be apart. So let's work together and let's find a way. So of course, there's going to come times when you don't agree with things, isn't there? But
do you get the comment a lot where people say things like, "Oh, I don't know how you can work with your husband," or "I don't know how you," but I don't know how you can work with your wife. Do you know we get that? We've had that quite a few times. Like, we'd kill each other. And you think, well, we haven't so far, have we?
It's all going good.
It's good. It's quite nice having somebody you can talk to, isn't it? about the business who understands. So there's no, it's not like speaking to someone else that's not in the business, is it? If you know what I mean. It's not like working with colleagues, is it? It's different, isn't it?
And if you're passionate about it, who better to talk about it with than the person that you share your life with? Only wouldn't be what it is now if we weren't husband and wife, because it's all consuming. So if it was one of us, the other one would have lost patience by now.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the questions, actually. I mean, do you find, do you try and switch off at a certain time? Do you say, right, 5 o'clock, that's it, we're not discussing the business anymore? Or are you a bit like we are, suddenly halfway through a movie, one of us will have a good idea and just blurt it out or something? How do you have that same thing as well? What's it with you guys?
We're the same as you. We don't put boundaries in. We've never really done that, James, have we? I think we're quite naturally, we talk about rest and recharging all the time. So our favourite thing to do to recharge is to go to London and stomp around the shops, and that's what we like to do. Not necessarily relaxing, but it's recharging for us. And we'll walk around and we'll talk about things that we want to do with the business, and we won't necessarily have a notebook with us and want to write all of these things down, but it's just that conversation and having the space to talk, isn't it?
Because when you're in it day to day, you're in the business, you're doing business, aren't you? So we do try and block out now. We've got Monday where we don't really book calls. We try and make that a kind of strategy. Let's work out the to-do list, that kind of thing. But like Kelly said, it's often the walks where we're able to kind of, without really focusing on it, it's almost like a stream of consciousness. How's it going? How are we feeling? What are we going to do next? And, you wouldn't think that walking along the South Bank would be the place that would happen, but it seems to flow really well.
We've got some friends who are husband and wife team, and they said that they try at 6 o'clock. That's it. That's the deadline. And we were talking to them, and we were almost like, what? Hey, everything I want to talk to you about is going to happen at 6:01 if we do that. It's literally going to happen every day.
You won't be able to keep it quiet, will you, until the day after? If it's
and they religiously stuck by that. And when they left, we were like, how weird, how strange. I'm not sure that you could do that, to be honest. Maybe it depends on the industry. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, maybe it's the type of industry we're in that leads it to be that way, really. I suppose the people thing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's what we probably need to touch on, but the roles part of it, because your question about, why don't you throttle each other? So I think it's two things. We've touched on personality compatibility, that you need different personality types within a business that complement, because if you were two of the same, that wouldn't work. Don't go into business together if you are both the blue sky thinker or the more, quieter, considered one. The other part of this is skill set and basic job role. So, my background, I was a journalist, editor, content. So I'm very much naturally in the content marketing side of the business. We share a lot of the hosting responsibility, but Kelly kind of picks up seemingly everything else. So around finances, managing the hosts, visitor conversion and stuff like that. So we're not tripping over each other. I'll go to Kelly and go, look, I've built this, I've got this idea, this is what we're going to output in terms of marketing. Can you just check it? But Kelly, I'm looking for good feedback, but that's not her job. And it'd be the other way around. I don't need to infringe on what she's doing. Have you guys got that distinctive role?
We do tend to, don't we? I focus more.
Well, I do the finance and
you're good with the social media stuff on. I dabble in social media a bit, but I tend to be more the ringing up the visitors that we've had and things like that, and salesy type, speaking to them and that sort of thing. You more the
I'm the one that does like all the events pages and the detail stuff that
that I'd get bored with after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, to do. So we are. It's just we do have sort of like distinctive things that we do a bit like you. I suppose, but you need to do that, don't you? Really, to make it work. I mean, do you have do you have like a shared vision? Then I'm sure you must have. What's your shared vision for the business? What's your goal? What's your overall goal? What's the general idea?
I'm waiting for James to answer, because I think this is a conversation we're having at the moment, isn't it? I think it's changed. Yeah, I think it's changed. I think we had the dream board with the mansion on it and the all the lovely things that come with it. And whilst that is still very much there, I think the last couple of years have shown us we've grown continuously, and I'll touch wood, but that was through a lot of blood, sweat and tears, not just luck. You know, a lot of working hard and not being sat in the garden when everybody else, it felt like everybody else was, and we couldn't even get outside the front door. Our vision for this year was just to keep the foundations, be content in where we are, and try and appreciate what we've achieved. I don't think we've even managed to do that because we've just been running and running and running. So for December, we said, look, we just want to sit, we just want to be content, we just want to see where we are, and then we'll reset for next year, haven't we, James?
Yeah, I think there's a difference, isn't there? And you guys have probably got this. There's a difference between this, but there has to be an overlap between your personal goals and your aspirations for the business. So we were lucky quite early on. We worked with a guy called Ben Jury, the culture guy, up in Thailand, and he taught us about the value of what felt intangible, a culture. That's just something that big businesses do. Absolutely not. Culture is actually our kind of ace up the sleeve, if you like, because it's all about, like I said to start, network for people that like people, kind of points you in that right direction, lead with relationship, that kind of thing. So there is a really bold vision in terms of ONLE. We want to, I could say to you, for a personal goal, we want to be the leader in global online networking, because someone's going to, it's an emerging market, it's a disruptive market, and why can't it be us? We're certainly working hard enough. And if we get a tenth of the way there, we would have personally done very well. But the goal of the business for me isn't about growing a large global network. And again, this is the personal bit of it because of my experience, we want to provide a network that gives every member access to meaningful connection. So when you look at your Simon Sinek start with why, what's the underpinning thing? It ain't to make money. It's because I know that this is a fact. There are millions of business owners working on their own, feeling lonely, isolated. If I can provide that connection for them by virtue of what we're doing, that feels like a worthy reason to do it. And of course, then that feeds the more personal goal anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's quite satisfying, isn't it, when you put two people together or introduce two people and you see something big come out of it. You know, they're collaborating on a project or they're just doing business together or whatever. And it's just like, it's a bit like
it's
bingo,
lovely.
isn't it?
It is a nice feeling, isn't it? You feel like you've made a difference, I think. It's like you've made a difference to somebody's life. It might be you might think it's quite small because you've just introduced them, but it could be a big change for them. It could be something that turns out to be a big deal or life-changing. So it's quite a nice... We enjoy that as well, don't we? That's the sort of thing we enjoy, is getting the people together and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we touched on sort of roles within the business. Did you just naturally fall into those roles from like a previous...
I think so. I think our personalities led what we were going to do more than anything. I think we struggled for a long time, didn't we? We've had coaches over the years and they've always said to us, you need to define your roles. You have to write your role document as well, which we're in the process of doing now, aren't we? With the coach that we're working with at the moment. But we still step outside of our comfort zone sometimes, and we still, I don't know why, but we sometimes still get shocked. So writing is not my thing. It really isn't. So when I do it, why am I shocked that it's bad and it's not going to be good enough? Do you know what I mean? So just don't do it, I think, is the key. So it personality led, but then I think a bit of preference to what we enjoy doing as well. Because you've got to enjoy what you do, haven't you? Doing it all day, every day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Kelly, you're one of the world's great multitaskers, aren't you? As well as driving the energy. That's what you're very good at doing. You know, you've got a remarkable ability. Do you guys find this as networkers? I always refer back to Dunbar's number. I don't know if you know this. What is it? It's a sociological kind of theory that Dunbar's number, by the way, is 240. That is apparently the average number of meaningful human relationships that we all have at any one time. 240. And I always think, that's way too high. Like, I struggle to remember about 50 people's names. Well, I tell you why that number is so skewed. It's because of people like Kelly, who remembers everyone. Kelly can be in a meeting and say, and you know, you guys will get this as a networker, how powerful this is. Someone will mention something oh, I'm into windsurfing. And she'll remember I met a year ago that person who's setting up a windsurfing school and needs your services. So making that connection.
It's putting the two together. Yeah.
And again, I think it's playing to your strengths, isn't it? We're working with a guy at the moment, and all of his analogies are basketball related. So I don't know if I'm going to test your knowledge here, but he said, Kelly is the best person to convert people that come to ONLE into wanting to become members. So some would say, well, you just outsource that role. But he said, if Kelly can hit the open three consistently, why give the ball to someone else? Let her keep shooting until someone stops. And I think that's where we are with it now, isn't it? To say, let's engineer this business so we're doing what we're good at, and all the other stuff.
It's also that pressure, isn't there? There are lots of coaches, I hear this all the time, don't do the £10 an hour jobs. Get somebody else to do the £10 an hour jobs. And that falls into that category, doesn't it? And there's lots of areas of your business that do. But if you enjoy it, if you're good at it, and if it drives your business forward, do it.
And sometimes also a cost restraint as well. Because it's all right getting these outside people to do, but it can cost you a fortune if you're not careful and think, well, we're sort of spending more here getting people to do something when really we could be doing that ourselves. So you got to look at that, I think, sometimes as well, haven't you? From that point of view, it's not always it's the right thing to do. I get that, but it's not always practical, is it? As well, like I say, if you're doing it's like I mentioned with the podcast, and I quite enjoyed the editing, sort of eventually. But I'm sort of glad I've passed it on, if you like. But it took some time to do that, didn't it? Because I was reluctant to do that. So well, I can do this myself, really.
Yeah, you kind of want to keep
like
hold of
on to things, isn't it?
Because it's your baby or your business, and
that's the minutiae of it, though, isn't it? Because you were talking about this, Ian. You can get, you could outsource the editing of your podcast somewhere in the world and probably get it done for about 10 quid. There's a difference between editing and editorializing. And you are probably the best person to editorialize that piece of content. One person may listen to something which is really obvious and has been said a million times before, but because they haven't heard it, they clip it and put it out on social media. Whereas that's been done to death. Because of your knowledge, I'll pull out a different clip because that's radical or progressive. So again, it is choosing your battles. Where's the value? That's not easy to decide, is it, when you're in the middle of it?
It's not. Can I ask you guys, do you think that working together like you have a sort of strengthened your relationship? Do you think that's...
Yeah, for sure. I think we're very much heart on sleeve, aren't we? And we're very happy to talk about this sort of stuff. It's hard. Really hard. I mean, we're a blended family as well. So James has 3 boys. I've got 2 girls. My eldest daughter works for us. My youngest daughter's disabled, so that brings a whole nother element to life into it as well. James's boys range from sort of 15 to 22. So with all of that stuff on the periphery, it's fine. It's life, isn't it? It's the way it is. But the business has taken us to the edge and back. We've dealt with a lot of things in our relatively short relationship, things that I think couples that have been together 40 or 50 years wouldn't have had to go through. And we've done it all in this small space of time, and we've grown a really big business. But if anything, I would say the business has probably tested us the most. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it can do, can't it, easily? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you sort of push each other along then? Do you, if one of you's having a down moment and one's, you can tell, can't you, if somebody's a bit down about something, do you chip each other along?
We've got better. So I'm naturally very positive. James is naturally quite negative. So we're really good at bringing each other into the middle, which I think doesn't do either of any harm whatsoever. Yeah, you can tell very quickly, can't you? And again, we talk about this. Some days you can't you? Some days you'll think, oh, I'll cheer him up, they'd be fine. Or he'll think the same to me. And other days you'll think, no, because I'm not in the mood. I'm not in a good space either. So we'll both be miserable. Yeah. Well, we've got headphones in, and quite often the 3 of us will be sat along. We've got a row of desks, and we've all got our headphones in because we just don't want to talk to each other. Yeah. But
do you two work together in the same space all of the time?
Yeah, we've got desks next to each
adjoining
other.
desks,
Yeah, we're joined at the hip, aren't we? I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah.
What do you do for calls? Do you always stay in the same place?
No, one of us will either put headphones in and just try and ignore the other, or if I'm taking a phone call, I'll probably go downstairs.
Yeah, because we work from our loft. This is our loft that we work. So we have the loft as the office. So we go downstairs.
Nice.
One of us goes downstairs. So
we were talking to an architect recently, and he was saying this is such a trend based on the way that the world has changed. He said pre-lockdown, everyone wanted massive open plan living areas, and now they want to box them all off again because they need separate rooms to do calls in. That's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
Everything goes full circle.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? How weird is that? Weird is that?
Yeah, it does. It does. What's the best thing about being in business together, would you say?
Go on, James. Well, I answered the last one. You can answer this one.
I just wouldn't. I can't imagine it any other way. You know, like Kelly was saying, we love what we do. Not all of it. It is a grind, but fundamentally we like what we do. So by having no line between work and us, you can, if you've got the right mindset, and I am working on this because Kelly's taught me this, but you can enjoy most of your time because I don't have to think, oh, well, I'll get this done and then we can do what we want to do together. We're sharing that, you know, because it's not always holidays and days on the beach and day trips, is it? It's living day to day, isn't it? So what would you say, Kelly?
I would agree with that, to be fair. There you go, see? We can agree on things.
Yeah. What's the sort of biggest high you've had then over the last years you've been working together? Is there a standout moment when you think, wow?
I would say we've had a lot.
Fairly significant.
We forget them very quickly. So when you get asked, you really have to trawl your brain, don't you, to try and think. The first things that stood out for me were Great British Entrepreneur Awards. We were up for finals of that 2 years running. And then down to the real basic of emails pinged and you've got a new member. And we do a little happy dance. We haven't done it for ages, to be fair. We used to do a little happy dance with Kearney, who works for us as well. And just to remember to celebrate those things as well, not just the big things.
Yeah.
What would you say, Jen?
There's that thing that Kevin Sheldrake, guy that we ended up taking over his business, lovely Kevin, he always said to me, and it's always stuck in my mind, business is alchemy. It starts off as just an idea. There's nothing tangible. You've just thought, oh, wouldn't this be great? So watching that build is something that you need to stop to appreciate. And there's two moments that I can remember as thinking, because when you launch it, do you remember, Kelly, waiting for the first person to join? And Chef Gary, who's still a member, was the first, and the order form came through. Yeah. So then you're off, aren't you? Because until someone gives you money, it is just a concept. Will people, because people tell you, oh, it's great. Yeah, but I'm not going to give you money for it. That's the big difference. Yeah. So Chef Gary, member number one, was important. The day that we were able to stop building websites, because we juggled, not just building websites, I had legacy marketing clients that I had to maintain for quite a long time while still growing ONLE.
Oh, right.
So I'm not sure the date of this, Kelly, a couple of years ago. It was only a couple of years ago, wasn't it, when we said there is now enough baseline income that we can do this full time. So we just shifted over to do only full time. Yeah. And then I would say the next milestone moment was when we committed to being an online only network. And people not only stuck with us, our growth started surging again. Because that was absolutely an unproven entity at the moment. You know, everyone was saying, like you guys, and I'm not saying it's wrong, like hybrid is probably the way to go. And we said, no, we're going to go full out. Because if you create something that alienates people, that's sometimes as powerful as trying to include everyone. So look, if you don't like online networking, if you only want to do in person, fine, we're not for you. But if you are particular, you know, introverts, for example, love online networking because it's boxed off. Yeah. They don't get backed into a corner by that pushy sales guy with a business card. We've changed the demographic in that respect. But again, that was all theory, wasn't it? would people
Yeah.
go, "Oh, great, well done, guys, we're off," and they didn't. They actually started to grow. So
Yeah,
that was a nice moment.
Yeah.
What about you two? That's a good question.
Similar thing, highs.
Yeah, like
I
I say,
think, like you say, that every time we get a member, it's a really nice feeling. There's also the downside to that when you think you're going to get someone. You have it sometimes where you think, oh, they really enjoyed the meeting. They give you all all the right noises, and they're going to join. They're going to join, and then you come off a phone call and think, no, they're not going to join. Suddenly they found something else better to do, like they're washing their hair or something like that. Or and you think, oh, well, how does that work? Because on one hand, they were saying how good it was and how much they enjoyed it, but they're not prepared to. So there's a downside as well, but certainly the highs are when you get a new member on. That is a nice feeling. That was we enjoy that, don't we?
And I think meeting some of our members who live in Scotland and down in Guildford, meeting them in person. We've got, we travelled up Scotland to see one of our members, didn't we? And one of our
met me in Glasgow.
Down south guy came up for an event that we had, and it was just so nice. It was really nice. We just felt like we already knew them so well. And we felt that we could do that. We felt we could just arrange, the guy in Scotland, go up and let's have a meal, and you just felt like you could do that. So that was.
And don't you think it's weird? You see people when online. But when you actually meet them in real life, you do really feel like you know them. It's not as though you've never met them before. It's a really strange. They are friends, even though you've only ever looked at them on a small screen. They're friends as well, aren't they? And that's the nice thing about making the connection. I think it still works.
You don't hear it very often, but
isn't it? Yeah.
Now and again, probably once or twice a month, as opposed to once or twice every couple of days, somebody will say, "Oh, you can't do it online," and I will invariably be speaking to them online. They'll invariably live a long way away from me, and I'll say, "Well, if it doesn't work, we wouldn't be sat here talking now," And I'm a business mentor as well, so I've seen growth in that side of the business, and I think that's because people feel more comfortable to share more and be more vulnerable, because they're in their own environment. They've got the screen and they feel comfortable and they're in a safe space. So you're absolutely right. We went and met some of our members in Brighton yesterday, didn't we? So that's a 2-hour drive nearly for us. We took a member with us. There was a couple of other members that had a couple of hour train drive rides away. But we were sat there saying, does this cement the relationship more? Do we feel like we know you better? Because we sometimes question, have we met before? Can't even remember now if we've met before or not. And because you just get caught up in the moment, don't you? So, I think it's those small things.
That's the key piece of information, because that was always the prerequisite question, wasn't it? When you met someone, you go, have we met online? We stopped asking it because, do you know what? It don't make any difference. You've either built rapport with someone or you haven't. And we've actually gone the other way. I find it harder to build rapport with people in person because there's all this etiquette around where should I stand? Who should I speak to? Small talk. There's noise in the background. I've had some of the best conversations I've had via Zoom because it's just us. There's no background. There's no noise. There's no, let's just get. And we are probably because we've got accustomed to it. But if you're open and you're listening to people online, you can get much deeper, much quicker because you can cut past the superficial kind of surface bit about, oh, have you got a coffee? How did you get here today? Like, it's nonsense, isn't it? Like, who cares? Cut to the chase. Let's try to get to know each other. And we found that we do an event, for example, where we bring members from across the network together. They get free 15-minute one-to-ones because 15 minutes is enough to establish whether you want to take that conversation any further or good to know you. We haven't really got a lot in common. I'll move on. Thank you very much. Because compare and contrast to when we used to do in-person networking. Oh, I'll have a one-to-one with you. What did that take by the time you travelled there? 2 hours?
Oh, gosh, easily can do, can't it?
Then you get there and you realise this is awkward and I don't get on with you. How am I going to get out of it? So, it's a different world, isn't it? It's just changing.
There's a lot of advantages to the online stuff, definitely, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you ask you what the worst thing was?
Well, no, I don't think so. Oh, crikey.
No, I tell you what, I've got a better one now. I've got a better one than that. I like this one.
Okay.
I'll start ladies first. Sorry, you'll get your chance, James.
Yes.
Ladies first. So, Kelly, what is James' most annoying habit? At work, that is, by the way. I don't mean in life in general.
What is his most annoying habit? We pride ourselves in the fact that we don't really have these things, but let's face it, we are all human. So listening is probably the top answer there. So, but not listening.
Listening or not listening.
Or looking like he's listening. Then it's quite clear 2 minutes later that he wasn't listening. But his might follow a similar line when you ask him.
Yeah. You'll have to tell me that technique, then. You have to teach me that technique.
Doesn't do you any good, Ian, to be honest. You get found out, don't you? No, that is a fair cop. That is a tough one for me.
So okay, James, your turn now. Go on.
Like the desktop, and then she'll go, "Well, where's that bit of paper?" Because it's paper. It's in pile number 45. I'm a minimalist. Digital notepad. Like, what do you need paper for? Kelly, messy. And it wouldn't bother me if she then didn't ever get to that point where she couldn't find that thing. Maybe if she tidied up. Just saying. But I love her. Yeah. I don't mind. It's fine.
You know, I have something similar. In fact, my desk is raised slightly higher, so things can't creep across onto my desk because there's paper all over Tracy's. And I've got it slightly higher, so paperwork doesn't manage to creep across, does it?
Funnily enough, I know where everything is in that mess, whereas you can have yours tidy.
No, it's a very good
still
point.
don't know where anything is.
Well, there is that. There is that.
Yeah, but I think that's like a woman or a mum thing, isn't it? Mums just know where everything is in the house.
Sort of last question, I suppose. Looking back, if you could, knowing what you know now, if you could turn the clock back, would you do it all again? If you could go back 8-9 years when you first started it, or whatever, would you do it all again?
Don't even need to hesitate. That there might be bits that we would structure a bit differently. It probably similarly to you guys, we're at a point where we can't really have a holiday. We don't have space in the diary where there's a week that we could have off even 3 or 4 days at the moment, you know. So hindsight would have been a wonderful thing to think, you might actually want some time off, so don't book a complete month schedule. I think on the best part, there's not much I'd change, but yes, without a shadow of a doubt, I'd do it again. Would you, James? James might say something.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think only mine. I can probably think of points where we probably spent on the wrong thing, invested in the wrong thing. You know, knowing what I know now, like get people to do the more admin so that you're not doing the day-to-day running of the business. I would have got that done a lot quicker. I think we could have grown it. You've also got to not beat yourself up because no one's ever lived through a business time like we have. And I'm saying we as in all of us. Kelly mentioned GBEA Awards, and Stephen Bartlett, one of the previous winners, Dragon, Stephen Bartlett, he was there and he said, if you've kept a business going through lockdown and you're still in any kind of growth phase, you've got what it takes, because business isn't glamorous. Business isn't, you know, the only people that benefit from the notion that there's a quick way to build a business that doesn't involve blood, sweat, tears, graft, and feeling like you want to give up every couple of weeks are the people that are selling the courses that are supposed to teach you how to do it. They're the only benefactors, because that ain't real. Yeah. You know, Stephen talked about the fact that they had weeks continuously of not knowing how they were going to pay people. And what he was saying is the ones that succeed are the ones that just keep going. They keep picking themselves up, keep going. Incremental improvement every day. So again, you know, we had to reinvent only 3 times through lockdown. I'm not going to beat myself too much up because it isn't quite as structured as it should be. And I think anyone listening, and you guys, if you haven't already worked that out, take heart from that, you know, we're going to do well because we've survived this, that kind of idea. What do you two think?
Yeah, I think if you can get through COVID, you can get through mostly. We know a lot of people who started businesses during COVID.
It's surprising how many have.
And you just think, well, Yeah, that's a good. If you can manage it at the worst of times, then as the times get better, then I think
it's people spotting opportunities as well, isn't it? Even during COVID, people spotted an opportunity. We know lots of business, like Tracy, who started, and you think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and they've built a business, and now they've packed in their original day job, and they're actually doing something they enjoy doing, which they probably wouldn't have done if COVID hadn't have hit and changed. I mean, you still get people who have. You feel sorry for the people whose businesses have gone down or they were made redundant and things like that. But hell of a lot, there's a flip side to that. Hell of a lot. It's changed their lives in so many other ways, hasn't it? Where they've created a business as well, I think, and a lifestyle, which is good.
Yeah. Have you got any tips or advice for any other couples who are thinking of going into business together?
Have a plan. Have a plan that you both agree on. Ultimately, if your end goal is not the same, it's never going to work, is it? Because you're going to want to achieve different things. So I think we did have that when we started the business, so we knew where we were going and what we wanted to do with it. And then remembering to check in on that as time moves on, because the business changes, you change, your aspirations change. And if you're not both then on the same page, again, that's when the cracks start to appear, don't they? And things start to go wrong. So just checking in, I think, on your plan and your end goal would be my.
I always think it's not really anything to do with couples in business, but it will affect all couples in business. I think it's the biggest overlooked aspect of business. Doing networking and seeing people struggling with marketing, messaging, positioning, finding customers, supply and demand. Does anyone want the thing that you're selling? Does it make their life better? Does it make their life easier? And if you don't know that and you cannot express it, you are never going to succeed. I don't care how good you are, as strong as a couple, you've got to have that basic business foundation. And if you've got that, then the graft, the camaraderie and all of that will kind of come into play. But there's no way of getting around that. I mean, you guys probably see this at networking. People want to blame the network. People want to blame social media. My SEO isn't good enough. Who are you selling for? How much does it cost? How does it help them? Well, kind of anyone. That's the problem. You haven't defined it. And there's a million people out there that are doing social media marketing. Why am I going to work with you and not the other 9,000,000? 9,000,000.
A lot.
I think that's
a lot.
That's time to
end. So I suppose we should ask you then, if anyone does want to get in touch with you guys or come along to one of your events, what's the best way of doing that?
Go over to the website, so TheONLE.network. We picked a name which, going back to our old days of web design, pick a name that everybody is easy to use. ONLE Network, spelled ONLE, not only. TheONLE.network is our website. We're on LinkedIn, James and Kelly West. We're really easy to find. And we personally love talking to anybody that comes through our doors. So we're always very open to a conversation.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good.
Well, it's been really, really nice talking to you. It's just good to hear your take on running a networking business as well as being a couple in business.
Thank you guys. It's been really lovely to meet you both again.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
to catch
you
up.
both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you've enjoyed and found it useful. We'd love to see you at one of our networking events, so be sure to check out our website for details. If you'd like to learn more about networking, why not take a look at our networking know-how courses designed to help you improve your networking skills.
We also have a series of books available on Amazon, such as How to Improve Your Business Networking Skills, which is 52 tips to help you with your networking. Our Notably Networking one-to-one notebook, which is a place to keep all your notes from those follow-up one-to-ones, and not forgetting our 90 Days to Your Success journal, where you can plan, set and plot the actions that you'll take to achieve your goals.
We hope you'll all join us again next time, and don't forget to rate, review and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening, we really appreciate it, and until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together
we are in business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.